this and that and what the fuck else, episode 132. This episode I'll be talking about something about the Baltics, China, the pestilence, interesting statement from Medvedev, something about Russia, and some disturbing news out of Kiev. Not disturbing for me, but can be disturbing for some. And then there's a lot of heart that will you can just look at it, think about it, smile. It made me smile. There are a lot of things to say, and I'll do a skidmark about that Nord Stream pipeline blow up. The revelation that America did it. Now what is interesting is that bad news about the pipeline was smothered with this balloon fiasco. And now they've shot down a UFO. All I'm going to say is they're losing against Russia in the Ukraine. Now they're shooting balloons. I'm just laughing. Really just laughing. It is hilarious in certain aspects and tragic. And start off with this photograph. This is an image of a lighthouse in Wales. I really like this image, and it's once again one of my favorites, a square crop, and it was done well. It's a good shot. Technically there's a few flaws, but it's a good shot and I'm not going to rate it. And then we get to the Baltics. Those countries up there, I don't know what their problem is. They are trying their absolute best to get Russia to calibrate them. Latvia hands over Stinger complexes, helicopters and drones to Ukraine. Latvia is transferring Stinger man-portable anti-aircraft systems, helicopters and drones to Ukraine. Latvian Defense Minister Murnis. Now I just look at that image and I see this chick and I'm just trying to get behind this crazy idea. That whole EU, basically all their ministers of defense is chicks. Well, call me a chauvinist if you like, but wars are fought by men, and it should be men that make the decisions about war, not chicks. And then we get to China. This was interesting. China's success is incredible considering all the challenges it faces, including a hostile terrain. Only 6% of the population lives in 57% of the land, i.e. west of the Hu line. And then there's a map here that gives you an indication of where the population is. It is weird. I wonder why. What is the real reason for it? But it is actually quite interesting. And then we get to the pestilence, and I have spoken about this previously. And then the architect posted this. When the people just waking up finally realize their dead loved ones were murdered by their own government, things will start to get ugly because they will have nothing to lose. And I have a funny feeling that day is speeding closer. And then we get to the Donbass. Did you know that Zelensky is committing war crimes against the Russians by dropping hydrogen cyanide canisters from drones on them in trenches and other positions? And our tax dollars are funding it. And I have spoken about that in some other Skidmarks. And there's a lot of videos currently doing the rounds of the Ukraine soldiers using chemicals on Russians. And then this image says, if you stand with Ukraine, you stand with the new Nazis, bioweapon labs, Schwab, Soros, Joe and Hunter Biden, child trafficking, money laundering, rigged elections, forced injections, the New World Order, the climate change hoax, Chinese social credit score, digital currency, and communism. Think about that and make your own decision. Let me get to this. How Europeans are to the Americans. Sad. Once the most powerful continent, you have become a piece to be used at any point in time. The EU will crash just to protect the dollar and American hegemony in the world. Hope you all come back to your senses. This is a powerful tweet that this guy did, and look at that image. The EU is cutting the rope that could hang the US. And what is the US doing? Ready to kick the chair out from under the EU. This is what's happening, but I will do a skid mark on that pipeline and then talk about this topic. And then we get to this little bit of good news, gender good news. Trans women will be sent to male jails. Gender at birth will now be used to decide where all inmates are initially placed. This is interesting, but it follows up on that story where there was a transgender prisoner put into a women's jail and he raped a lot of the inmates. So now he's going to the male jail. I hope he takes a bucket of Vaseline with him. And then we get to this disturbing shit. Eusebius McKaiser, the South African guy. Beware the danger of a man not disclosing their sexual orientation. We must push back against the kind of famous men getting away with being double adapters. Stories of well-known gay personalities not disclosing their true sexual orientations are increasingly making the rounds. I am here talking about people like Fikile Mbalula, Jimmy Manye, Zizi Kotwa, Tony Yengeni, TK Ntiza, Tito Mboweni, Andile Ngube, Mdu Manana, and Jeffra Debe, who are married but known to be double adapters. Why should I, Bongani Bingwa, Aldrin Sampier, and the Clement Manyatela be upfront about us being gay, but others playing double standards? What the fuck is that? I'm not even going to talk about it. You can stop the thing and go through that list. That is scary shit. And then we get to the global revolution, and this is interesting. Iranian-Russian banking system similar to SWIFT launched. The Central Bank of Iran, CBI officials said last week that Iran and Russia had signed a memorandum of understanding to connect their banking messaging systems, through which financial and banking exchanges will be facilitated. And this is something that the West did not bargain on. But what did they expect? They can cut Russia off SWIFT and that's where the end of it. The rest of the world is decoupling from the West. This is what is happening. And some more on that. Iran to supply China with 15,000 drones, official says. Listen to that number. 15,000. Interesting. And prior to this whole Ukraine fiasco, I thought Iran was just a heap of sand, thanks to the Western media. Obviously not. And this one you must stop with the screen if you want to go through it properly. Products from cattle, and then it goes through a lot of things, what they do with the brain and the blood and the hooves and the horns and the internal organs and the milk and the manure and the fat and the skin and the hair and the bones. I mean, the fat has got a lot of uses. And the guy said here at the bottom, conclusion, there is no such thing as a vegan. Think about that. And then there was this interesting thing that I got. We are not meant to cut and clamp umbilical cords. Cord circulation comes from 30 plus minutes after birth, meaning for over 30 minutes, stem cells, blood and Vital nutrients are meant to be pumping into the baby. When the cord is clamped right away, the child usually gasps for air because they were receiving oxygen from the cord. That is why babies can be born underwater and not drown, as they don't need to use their lungs right away. Letting the cord detach on its own, like all animals in the wild, allows for maximum stem cell and blood transfusion to the baby, leading to healthier, more developed babies. That is quite interesting. I've never thought about it like that. And interesting, there was a baby rescued from under the rubble in Syria, 15 hours he was under the rubble. It was a newborn. The umbilical cord was still attached, and the baby was hanging onto the hair of the mother. Unfortunately, the mother was no more. But that makes you think. And then we get to this from Medvedev. This reign of exalted young European freaks will end very deplorably for the old European civilization. It is already dissolving under the onslaught of immigrants arriving from all over the world, and soon it will disappear completely, repeating the well-known myth about the abduction of Europe by Zeus. Medvedev stressed that today the role of the bull will be played by the arrogant America, which is served with an open mouth from lust by traitors to European interests such as Poland and Baltic countries. That's a message that Europe should take note of. And then we get to this. Employee of the US government, promoted Twitterati, Paul, my voice is Judge Doom's Massaro, is proudly showing off signed Azov Regiment battle flag for reference. That symbol was used by the 2nd SS Panzer Division, and they, among other atrocities, murdered the entire village of Oradour-sur-Glare in France. The entire village. It has never been rebuilt. But these guys are stupid. They are ignorant of the fact that these are Nazi symbols, and they are proud to have it. And then there's this from the Russian ambassador to Serbia. After Russia defeats the West on the territory of Ukraine, we will deal with the return of Kosovo to Belgrade, the Russian ambassador to Serbia has promised. According to the ambassador, the final status of Kosovo and Metohija will be determined in different geopolitical conditions after the end of the conflict with the West in the territory of Ukraine, which Russia will win. And then Northern Cyprus, the Falklands, and the Golan Heights. Well, things are going to change. The world that we have known before 24 February 2022 is gone. There's going to be a new world order. Not that new world order the globalists thought about and planned. The Soros new world order and the Schwab new world order. A real new world order in which the West is no longer going to be the dictators. And then there was an argument on Twitter about the Russian army and so forth, and a guy posted this, and it's a list of battles in which the Russians were involved. Now, I'm not going to go and read through all of it. You can stop the thing if you want to look at it in detail, but it's quite interesting. In all of these battles, I mean these ones, there's 4 in which the battle was against Germany and 1 against China. And in every battle, the Russians were absolutely the minority, but they were the winners in every one of the battles. And then there's the rest of the list, and look at that. Look at that one against, it looks like Sweden. 1,300 versus 5,000. Russia was the winner. And then the Kulovskaya battle, 40,000 versus 100,000. Russia was the winner. And then we get to Syria, and I've done 2 Skidmarks about Syria, and I am really disgusted. This was in the Washington Post. Don't lift sanctions on Syria to help earthquake victims. How is that? And I have read other articles in which GoFundMe and PayPal has closed down all accounts that were opened by people in the West that wanted to make donations for Syria. This is going to cost the West. This is inhuman. And then there was this image of this little baby that was pulled out from under the rubble. 28 hours he was there. I see these pictures and I really get angry. But the West will have to explain at some stage to someone how they can justify what they are doing to Syria. And then we get to the UK. Britain's facing permanent reduction in living standards. UK households are suffering a permanent decline in living standards as wages lag behind double-digit inflation, and 7 million households will be unable to cover their energy and food bills once the government starts scaling back its subsidies program in April. The National Institute of Economic and Social Research has warned. Grocery inflation alone soared to a new record of 16.7%, taking the average annual food shopping bill in the UK to £5,500, up £788 from last year. Early this month, the International Monetary Fund said that Britain will have the worst economic performance among other major industrialized economies and will become the only G7 member to face a recession. And then this British can house those illegal immigrants in 3- and 4-star hotels with a hell of a lot of extra cell phones and airtime and coupons and the fuck knows what. But their own citizens are suffering. I am going to say it again. The Western world is on the edge of a revolution. The ordinary people has had enough. But they just have not come to that point where they realize that they will have to fight for their own survival. And then we get this news from Kiev. Kiev sounds alarm over ammo. A top advisor to Ukrainian President Vladimir Zelensky told Bloomberg the country's stocks are almost zero. But what do you expect? They're fighting a war against Russia, and they are using a lot of ammo. And the West has lost its capability of manufacturing ammo at a large scale. And that is the truth. And there is reports. England, one general has now made a statement that England will be out of ammo in less than a day. England also has got no more howitzers that is functioning. They've given all their howitzers to Ukraine. And now that stupid premier of theirs, not premier, governor, WEF, governor of England, is now talking about giving airplanes to Kiev. Well, I don't know how it's going to work out. And then I've read an article about NATO, where some NATO guy said, if they should get involved in a direct fight with Russia, they'll be out of ammo in 2 days. How's that? And I've read an article where a Pentagon guy has said, if America is going to get involved with China in Taiwan, as on the same levels that Russia is now working, America will be out of ammunition in 7 days. Let these things sink in. Let it sink in. And then we get to that what a fuck moment, and I'm just going to show you the image, and you can read the image and laugh or say, what a fuck is that? We stand to urinate. And that is exactly what I'm going to have in my mind from here on now if I see that Ukraine flag. Please give me a like and a subscribe. and share the thing. I have got a problem with YouTube, so I need you guys to subscribe, to share the stuff. Please. Thank you for your support.